Welcome back, Stooges. In this video today, we're going to be going over a few things. We're going to go over our tournament schedule for the season. And we have our first regular season tournament coming up this weekend in Wisconsin. So we're going to go over some things that we've seen the last couple of years from this tournament, what we expect from the team, what we expect from ourselves. But as you can see, it's only two Stooges here. Third Stooge, Jet, is we don't know where he's at. He might be okay, he might not be okay. You never know with that guy.
You'll have to see.
You'll have to find out. But let's get into tournament schedule. So this weekend, October 5th and 6th, we got the Midwest Collegiate Championships Tier 1 tournament. One of the biggest tournaments in all of regular season collegiate bowling. Supposed to be a lot of teams here. We'll get into that later. And then our second tournament, October 19th and 20th, is Mid-States Championships, another Tier 1 tournament. We're diving the deep end this year.
Yeah, we are. Going straight into it.
Yep. And then November 2nd and 3rd, we have the Bronco Open in Hastings. November 9th and 10th, another Tier 1 tournament, another big one, Leatherneck Classic. That one is notorious for being extremely difficult. So we'll see how we can manage on that pattern. And then we go into a string of tournaments that are two tournaments in one weekend. So December 7th, we have Mustang Invite number 1. December 8th, Mustang Invite number 2. And then January 18th, we have Columbia Cougar Clash number 1. And January 19th, Columbia Cougar Clash number 2. January 25th, Eagle Invite number 1. January 26th, Eagle Invite number 2. And then, one more. February 1st, NAI West Regional number 1. And NAI West Regional number 2, February 2nd. And we bowled that one last year. How'd that one go, Wyatt?
First one, regional number 1, easy. I shot 212 and got top 10. So, I mean, you got to shoot well. And then regional number 2, we were like, oh, it's going to shoot very high again. And then we were lofting after game 3. So.
And by the end of the day, I think we bowled 7 games. By the end of that day, we were lofting our plastic balls. Didn't even know you could do that. I didn't know they hooked, but they do.
All right. We're back to here to talk about this tournament, the Wisconsin tournament.
So we bowled it 2 years ago. We didn't bowl it last year, but 2 years ago. We have the stats from both the year we bowled it and last year to try and get an idea of what we're going to need to do in order to place well at this tournament.
So 2 years ago, we bowled a 91-34 for all the games combined, and we got 17th out of 49 teams.
So to put that into perspective, our average for all the games was 992. And for those of you who don't know bowling, for a team game, 1,000 is a 200 average. So we were just below that 200 average mark, which for our team at the time was actually really good. But in order to place higher, because our goal, all right, we'll get into that later. But in order to place higher, we're going to need to average what? What do the stats say? Stats don't lie. Then you'll come to find that out.
Stats don't lie. Just to place in the top 10, you have to average 1,025.
Yep. So that is a 205 average for everything, for everybody, basically. And that's top 10. I don't know. At this tournament, I think top 8 make the match play step. So that's not even the next. That's not even bonus bowling, is what we like to call it.
Top 8 bowled a 94-63, averaging a 10-28.
So just a little bit higher than that top 10 cut, but we've seen a big gap in between second and third place in that tournament we bowled. So third place, Wisconsin Whitewater, averaged 1079, shot 99.28, and then second place, Calumet College of St. Joseph, shot 10,117, which is about 200 pins above third place. So everything was close. The first 2 teams kind of ran away with it, but that seems to happen in a lot of tournaments. Let's get into the individual scores, see what we can expect to have to shoot in order to make that alternate team or the top 20. The last year I did pretty good at it. I averaged 212. I think
Average 40th.
I got 40th at that tournament, averaging 212, which is kind of insane. At a normal regular tournament, that would probably get you at least top 10, maybe even that top 5 spot.
So 5th shot a total of 14-12 for 6 games, averaging 235 2 years ago. So if you want to make that ATT,
bring home that hardware,
you have to shoot really high,
yes,
really well.
So that was the year that we went. So 2 years ago. Now we're going to look at the scores from last year and see how they vary, how they're similar. See if we can expect the same scores this year.
So last year, to make the top 8, Marion University out of Wisconsin shot a total of 93.04, averaging 10-11.
So it looks like cut line was pretty similar, maybe a few pins lower. So that might have just been a harder pattern because the same powerhouse schools go to these tournaments every year. So I would expect a little bit of a harder pattern that was laid down this last year.
Who ended up taking it was Weber International. They shot a total of 98.77, averaging 10.73.
Which first place, that was a lot lower than last year, about 200-300 pins lower than the year before. So like I said, I expected a little bit of a harder pattern. Have to force bowlers to play a little bit of a tighter line, maybe something that they're not comfortable with. But even these powerhouse schools, they're consistent, and they can score high even when the pattern's hard.
They sometimes make the pattern look easy when really it's not.
Yep. These teams that's going to be at these tournaments make even the hardest patterns look very easy.
Yeah. And moving on to the singles portion of it, to bring home that hardware, number 5, he shot 13.70, averaging 228.
Yeah, that's insane. So we're looking at, if you want to bring home an alternate team, you're looking at a 230 average minimum. 233 average won it last year, which a 258 average won it the year before. But we're looking, if you want that top 5, you're going to have to average at least 230 for 6 games, I believe it is. And that's just insane. For those of you who don't know bowling, 230 average is hard. That's like maybe you don't strike 3 times in a game, but you cover all your spares.
Mm-hmm.
Every other frame has to be a strike. And, it may not seem that hard. It's just a lane, ball, oil, and pins, but it's hard.
Yeah.
We're playing on an invisible playing field. It changes every shot.
Every shot. But, all right.
All right, now we're going to get into the topic of what we expect to see from the team and the players this weekend. I hurt my wrist. If you guys aren't following, I hurt my wrist, so I've been on IR. I'm not bowling this weekend, but I'm still traveling. I'll be down there with the team as kind of like as an extra set of eyes to help Coach Dwayne the mood. So we'll get into what the player wants before we get into what I would want as a spectating type coach.
So, what I would see is, I hope the freshmen. I mean, these tournaments are huge, and we're just pushing them off the deep end. I mean, we're throwing them into Tier 1 tournaments right off the bat. So, I'm hoping the freshmen can show us like handling emotions, getting to like just going out there throwing shots, good shots, making spares. And I hope our whole team can do that. But I'm really hoping that the freshmen are able to do what they've shown in practice.
Mm-hmm.
Another thing is attitudes. I really want the team's attitudes to be positive. I mean, you can't really go into big tournaments with bad attitudes. And then the next is team chemistry. When the team's clicking, we're dangerous. I mean, we've seen in multiple tournaments where as long as the team's clicking and nothing happens, we're there. We're competing for those top 5s, and that's what we want to see. That's what I want to see this weekend. Bowling-wise, there are some things that I want to see out of this weekend. We don't need big scores, but we need consistent scores. I mean, if you can consistently string big scores together, let's do it. But I'm talking like we don't need 250s going down to 140s. That's what we don't need, because that's when teams rise in the rankings and when teams fall in the rankings. So I'm really looking forward to seeing consistency out of this team and competing for those top five. Another thing is made spares. We preach that at practice. Coach Dwayne DeMood preaches that every day. I mean, I don't remember the last time he said nothing about making spares. And there was a tournament a couple of years ago that we missed. Was it brackets?
No, we got second place. We
Second
missed
place
the win by 1 pin.
by 1 pin. So, and there was nothing you could really do about that. So, made spares, and that's what I'm really looking forward to this weekend.
So my goals as kind of a player that is sitting out this tournament and helping any way I can is I want to see a bond between the team form. We've had practices, but we haven't had a tournament. We haven't had that stressful tournament experience yet as a team. And I think if this team wants to compete in tournaments, whether it be the big tournaments, small tournaments, postseason, we need to form a big bond that can last through stressful situations like a tournament. And then bowling wise, I want to see communication between the team. One thing yesterday at practice, we have two lefties on the team, brand new for us. We've never had lefties on the team. So right hand and left-handed is a whole different game. Us right-handers can't make reads for the lefties. So I pulled the two lefties aside yesterday and I was like, at this upcoming tournament, you guys are on a buddy system. If one of you notices even the slightest change in a reaction, transition, or anything, you need to make sure you tell that other person, because that one frame of being told instead of trying to figure it out on your own, 1 or 2 frames, that can make a big difference in your score. Like I'm talking anywhere between 10 and 30 pins. And if that happens every game, we're losing out on like 300 pins per tournament just because of the lack of communication. And that's not only for the left-handers. I want to see it with the right-handers as well. If they're on the team bowling, if they're on the bench, they need to be watching. And you should never, when you're bowling the collegiate tournament, you should never be spaced out. You should always be watching because you never know when you're going to get put in. You need to have a line, always.
And that really helps the team is when those bench players really come in handy with seeing what the next pair is going to do or seeing what other people are doing and giving tips to those people bowling. And I mean, that excels a program so high.
All right, now we're going to get into personal goals and what we want from ourselves this weekend. I'll start because I'm not bowling, make it a little bit easier. For myself, I want to make sure I'm there for my teammates in any way possible. I want to try and take as much stress off the freshmen as I can, as much stress off the returners as I can. Like if they need any like water, snacks, anything, I'm going to be there for them. And I want to be there to help read transitions, because people sitting back notice things that people bowling don't. I want to be there for Coach Dwayne DeMood, make it easier on him. I'll be running the iPad for the scores so he can focus on the bowling and stuff. And then one thing that I'm going to do as this tournament goes on is coming up to the end of the game, I'm going to go check out the pair that we're moving to, figure out what balls they're throwing, if they're throwing urethane, solid pearl, sanded, anything, and then figure out what line they're throwing, figure out the scores they're shooting, just try and give our bowlers the best ability to shoot as high as possible at this upcoming pair. What are your goals for this weekend as a bowler?
As a bowler, it's to shoot high. I want to bring back hardware for Peru State College. I mean, they've done so much for us, so I mean, us giving it back to them would be great. So shooting high, making an ATT, getting that team to top five would be nice. Another would be sharing the knowledge I have gathered for the 3 years that I've bowled collegiately with the freshmen to like kind of ease them and excel their games a little more during the tournament. And also I want to help the team with like mentality and the championship mindset and get that installed, because we can't be sorrow or sad about a misspare. It's always the next shot, and um, that's what I'm really looking forward to doing this weekend. And hopefully we can shoot well.
Yep. And bowling is 95% mental. If you let one frame affect 7 frames, you're basically already out of the tournament. You have to those top teams, those powerhouse teams, are they're very strong in the mental game. They don't let the good games affect them. They don't let the highs get them too high and affect them. They don't let the lows bring them down and affect them. They are level headed and they are basically machines. Like you'll see emotion, you'll see hype out of these teams, but once it's time to bowl, they're up on the lanes, they lock in. They are actual machines, and it's very cool to see. And I hope that we can see that from not only ourselves but from the rest of the team, the returners and the freshmen.
And I'll comment on that machines and being up on the lane and focusing. Bowling is a team sport, but when you're up on the lane, it's for yourself. I mean, you got to go out and do you for that portion where you're on the lane, and then you come back and celebrate with a team. So tell the team what you did, how your ball reaction was, what happened, and stuff like that. So I mean, it is a team sport, but there's an individual portion of bowling behind that.
And another key that's going to be extremely important is that goes along with the communication. If one of our bowlers throws a shot and they miss, they need to communicate that with the team. Like if they double dribbled it or if they missed their mark, because if you're not honest with yourself and your team, it's just going to hurt the team.
Mm-hmm.
We don't care that you threw a bad shot. It happens. Everyone throws bad shots, even those powerhouse teams. But those powerhouse teams are honest with the teammates and saying they missed a shot. That way their teammates don't make an adjustment off of a bad shot.
Mm-hmm.
So that's going to be a very key factor in being able to score well and place at a decent level for what we're expecting at this tournament.
And I mean, making that bad shot, making a move off that bad shot is just going to lead to even more mistakes because you don't know where you're supposed to be playing now. And that's what some bowlers run into, and they just get confused and be like, I don't know where I'm at. And so,
all right. Well, if you guys made it this far through, go ahead and like and subscribe for more Three Stooges content, more content about the Peru State College bowling teams. We're happy to bring anything we can to you. So leave a comment of something you'd like to see, whether it involves the Stooges, the Peru team, anything. Thanks for watching. We'll catch you in the next video.